for that Penn Twins.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, March 27th, 2019 Dudley Planning Board meeting. Present this evening, Daniel Edmiston, Clerk of the Board, Gregory Benoit, member. Our town planner is here. He's coming momentarily. And here he comes.
Nope.
Okay, and we have also another member, Russell Giglio. He'll be here momentarily too. And we have our Carol Savard, our clerk to the board, and myself, Guy Horn Jr., chairman. So first item on our agenda for this evening, we have approval of meeting minutes from the March 13th meeting. If somebody would like to make a motion for those.
I've been able to read through the minutes, and I found that it would be perfectly in order, so I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Okay, that's taken care of. Our next item on the agenda we have is item B, endorsement of the Dudley Estates definitive subdivision plan. I believe there's a representative here. Carol, could you please put a sign-in sheet up there with a pen?
Yes.
Thank you. Was it Miss Allen?
Yes.
Okay, Miss Allen. All right, so we spoke before the meeting, but I understand that we don't have the definitive plan here tonight because the engineer didn't bring it by, or?
We thought that he was coming, but he's not here right now. I know that my seller had paid him and he was supposed to be finalizing the draft,
Okay.
so.
I think if everything else is in order, maybe the board can vote to endorse the plan, and then members can come in.
But we already voted to endorse the plan.
Yeah.
We were just waiting for the plan to arrive to endorse.
It's just about the size, we just agreed.
So
Okay.
the
I don't think
plan
this, I need to wait
tonight,
till 2 weeks is what I'm saying.
Okay,
Everything else is in order before that.
okay.
I know we were hoping, I thought the engineer was showing up, Ben was showing up with the plans to have that signed off on. In addition, I have the restrictive covenant and I have the easement that was also approved by the council that reviewed it. My owner has signed both of those. In addition, as we were discussing before, it has the clause in the restrictive covenants that gives the town of Dudley power to withhold any approvals, permits, designations for anything in the future for the next buyer. As I was saying before, the owner is a little bit different here because my owner is not the developer, so he's going to be selling it to a developer that's going to be creating the homeowners association and then developing the subdivision. And we've made it perfectly clear that the new buyer is going to work with the town, and all the approvals, conditions, restrictions, anything else you need. So upon having these two approved, putting these on record with the approval from the planning board, it's clear that the homeowners association is required. The new buyer will create that. And as I said, it gives the town, the clause in there gives, it says it right here, the town of Dudley shall have the right to withhold any permits and approvals of every name and nature whatsoever associated with the subdivision, and approval requested pursuant to this instrument in any violations of any covenants, restrictions, agreements, easements, and any liens contained herein. So we're linking, taking this, holding this buyer to, he has to withhold everything that the town requires him to do. So at least then we can get the plan on record, put the easement and restrictive covenant on record to make the town happy, and proceed from there.
Okay, so you have part of that paperwork that's necessary to do this with you tonight. That's
Yes.
already been signed by your buyer and notarized, so it's requiring the
It's-
signatures of this board.
Already been signed by the owners, notarized, and if you sign off on it, I can put it to record once the plan is approved as well with the plan.
So the only part that we're missing tonight is the plan, and there's nobody from the engineer's office en route here tonight.
My owner had called him to try to find out, and right now he cannot get a hold of him.
Okay,
So I can wait around and see. Maybe if he's coming later, see, he's trying to call him
okay.
still. But if not, then I'm thinking he'll have to come back in 2 weeks to get the plan approved. I could hold on to these.
I think what we could do is we could go ahead and sign what you have tonight. I mean, you can't file that until you get the plan,
No,
obviously.
I wouldn't.
Paperwork's all set anyway. I think the board members can come in and sign individually.
So we could sign what you have tonight, and then
And I would
if
hold
the
on to it.
shows up tonight or tomorrow with the plans, then we could, before the next meeting, which is 2 weeks
Okay.
away, I think all of us would have a chance to come in and take a look at the new plan and, because that's the
Perfect.
plan that's gonna be stamped by
Yes,
your client's engineer,
Mhm.
and that's the plan that was reviewed by our engineer, so,
exactly.
okay.
And I would just hold on to these until that plan's signed off on, and everything would go to record at the same time.
So we could probably get it signed for you before the next meeting in 2
Okay.
weeks. But,
That
you know,
would be great.
we do need a copy of that Mylar here to sign. So if it doesn't come tonight and it comes tomorrow, then Don can just send out a notice to everyone, let us know, and then we'll stop in one at a time and sign off. And as long as you have 3 signatures, you should be, it
Perfect.
should be accepted at the registry.
Okay.
Okay? So
Great.
why don't you bring up the paperwork that you have?
Done 2 originals of each, just in case.
Okay.
I was trying to
Form E.
These all copies?
Yeah, take a look.
If you remember, what we were trying to do was to make sure that mechanism is in place because of the complex drainage system on this property, where there are some surface flows that occasionally go over the back sides of the lots. We just want to be sure that that's all taken care of, that there's no surprises later on, for the buyers or for us or for anybody.
This is all from Jesse. Mm-hmm.
If you want to take a look at the condition, it's also in your folder, your notebook rather. It's, condition number 3 and 8, particularly. 4 to a lesser degree. Three and 7, rather, I'm sorry. I think it's an 8.
Yep, so 3 is regarding the homeowners association. I know 7, we included,
Can I see this one?
the requirements for
Process
the
and what it's on.
individual owners to,
Yeah.
the certain lots, that's also in there.
I'm
Mhm.
signing off on
So I think the only The only other thing that was outstanding was the homeowners association.
That's on the top one, so what's on the second one?
I think so, like, what they're gonna do is frontage lots and store it, and then store it for it.
Get those two signed?
These are the Form E's, yeah. What
You got
form-
4 signed?
Yeah, we need all four signed.
One need is in place in the range, is in the, so it's most important than those three right now. We have the access.
Question is, do we have to sign on the same lines, you think?
I did.
Doesn't matter.
But
I think as long as they're signed, the registry will be okay.
I have to sign up.
Obviously, there's some blanks you have to fill in on these forms and on the plans too. There's gonna be a notation in the plan, you have to fill in, these are recorded, you have to fill in, these are recorded on the plan, and, you know, so forth.
Yeah.
The Russell does?
You can't do that until they stamp it in, so,
No, exactly.
yeah.
So. And like I said,
We got four of that one.
the engineer even called my owner and told him, there's a meeting Wednesday, you need to come in and make the payment. We have to have this plan finalized and done. So that's why should have been here.
Okay, well, like I said,
But-
if you can get it to us, you know, either
Perfect.
later tonight or tomorrow, and then we'll.
He can get it to me and I'll have everything put on record at the same time.
Don can let us know when it's available, we'll come in, sign it off, and then he'll give you a call or a text and let you know that it's available and you can come pick it up,
That's awesome.
okay? All right,
I
thank you
guess
very
for now,
much.
you hold on to one copy, we hold on to the other one, right?
Thank you.
They have to be
Yes.
they have to be notarized, don't they?
Perfect.
You
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay for that?
yes,
Carol can notarize them.
I can notarize
Okay,
Okay, so we're guaranteed, you're saying that we're guaranteed by the condition number 12 in the covenant? That
Yes.
the homeowners association will be established?
It will be established and required to be established by the new buyer, the developer. Yes.
Can you put that in writing?
Mm-hmm, I can. Do you want the owner to sign something, or do you want me to put it in writing?
Well, how much are you representing him?
I'm representing him and through the sale of the property. So even when I dropped up the purchase and sale, that's gonna be required in there. So,
Okay.
if we could get a copy of that, that would be great.
yep.
Okay.
It's not drafted yet, obviously, because
Right.
he's waiting for all of the plans and whatnot, but when that's done, mm-hmm.
Okay,
If you get a copy of that, we can, you know, whatever you want to
Yeah,
send it.
whenever, once we have a fully executed PNS, I'll send you guys a copy. And if you want me to put something in writing right now on my notebook paper, I've got no problem writing it out.
I mean,
We can let you get back to the office.
yeah,
Just, it's really critical right here, because this is a unique drainage pattern, this subdivision, like we were saying earlier. All the water that comes downstream, and all that goes downstream from here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so.
Yes, it's to make all of the people that live below them feel comfortable about it and not to have any issues in the future, so. Exactly, which is why we put that clause in there. So anything that you guys are gonna require, you're gonna require any walls, anything, anything additional that, you know, the engineers come up with that requires them, because this, in here, this basically holds them that you can withhold any COs for any of the houses once they're done. You can withhold any COs, anything, any of the approvals if they don't satisfy your requirements, so.
Hopefully it doesn't go that far. Hopefully they get everything in order before they build a
Yep.
house. Because if they
Yeah.
don't, we'll know about it.
It's good that we don't get, that they know about it, and we know about it, and everybody knows about it, and
Exactly.
know what they're getting into.
And then everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right, so, thank you very
Perfect.
much.
all right, I will contact the engineer, find out where that plan is and where he was, and I'll touch base with you guys this week,
Okay,
and I'll send you over a letter or a guarantee.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item C, discussion status report on finishing construction of and acceptance of uncompleted, unaccepted subdivision streets, including Pierpont Estates, Rocky Hill Estates, Piasta Road, Country View Estates, Tilden Farm Estates. So, I think we have one of those subdivisions here. There's only 14 houses.
14 on the road. Look at those.
Yeah.
That's a good idea if you try to do that.
There's always been provisions for that after, because of what the previous big bond is.
Good evening. My name is Andy Bond from Summit Engineering. We're here with Nick Kondek and Tony Sakura, who's a project proponent for Pierpont Estates. I don't have much of an update with regard to the as-built process for the street. I know Nick and Jim had come by before speaking with folks about completing that as-built and get it on the warrant for completion. We've done probably 90% of the field work and locating all the information, as well as staking out some of the bound locations to get the bound set once the weather breaks. So that portion of the project is proceeding as much as the weather permits. The other thing that we're here to discuss tonight is the redivision of Lot 1. So this board right here, on the right-hand side is Noble Street. At the top of the page is Pierpont Road. And this is the shaded portion with the green and the blue is the what's shown on the approved subdivision plans is Lot 1, which is about 7.5 acres. And I know there was some discussion about redividing Lot 1 into two building lots. To the top of the page of the east of the parcel, there's a large drainage basin, so a lot of the site drainage comes down this Old Mason Road right-of-way here, and then goes into the back basin and then discharges back into the wetland complex under the approved plans. If you go out there today, this portion of the road is gravelled. It's approximately 15 feet wide. There is in the subdivision plans, there was a new culvert that's been installed that connects this westerly wetland complex down the hill underneath the road and then into this wetland complex here. I know there was some discussion about upgrading this road into a common driveway component to allow access to those two building lots here. So what you have in front of you is just an updated, we'll call it a sketch for now, showing what that may lend itself to look like. Soil testing hasn't been performed for the on-site septics, but we're pretty confident the soils are in good condition right there. We got 2 septic locations. We've got ample enough room for on-site wells and access, and then even some turning around that. So I know there was some concern, or Nick conveyed some concern to the board of how these would be addressed. One thought that we had was about putting a mailbox down here and labeling, 2 for Noble Street, because I believe this first address here is actually number 6. But we just wanted to be in front of you folks and make sure you're still in agreement that we're coming down with a common driveway on the old road to provide frontage here. And our research, unless you folks have some other input, not very descriptive on common driveways requirements in the town.
Actually, the zoning bylaws.
I'm sorry?
Actually, the requirement of driveways in the zoning bylaws.
It's in the zoning bylaws?
Driveways themselves, yeah.
Driveways themselves, but you don't have specific requirements for common driveways. Just follow the driveway bylaw.
Pretty much.
So it's pretty much what we did on that.
It's a lot, it's permissible for up to 2 houses. If you want more than that, it's like, you'd have to go to the ZBA. But a common driveway is allowed for up to 2 houses. What's your proposed width on the driveway?
Right now it's shown as 12 feet.
12 feet,
Paved.
paved, okay.
There's a little cross-section there, and like I said a little bit before, it's about, we went out there and located the limits of the gravel. It's about 15 feet wide if you were out there today, so not much more narrow than what's there, but we're trying to keep it minimal without getting a lot of paving in there.
Right, but you want it large enough that if a fire truck had to go down there, it's not gonna be falling off the edges.
Oh, certainly, yep,
Yeah.
yep. He's gotten back there with dump trucks and,
Yeah.
and heavy equipment.
I believe 12 feet is like half of our required subdivision roadway, so it's like a single lane road.
It's a lane.
Yeah.
And there aren't very many curves, there aren't any curves, it's just pretty much straightaway portion here. So, and the grade coming off the road is I couldn't tell you what it is off the top of my head, but it's not terrible. So our intent is just to follow what's out there today, minus some minor grading, particularly around where the curb cut would be in Noble Street.
I thought the last meeting we talked about having that road be a little bit wider. I didn't see it noted in the meeting minutes, but I thought we had talked about it being like 20 feet or something.
Okay.
It was me thinking that it should be enough, that we agreed that it should be wider. What's the distance to the first house from Noble Road, or Noble Street, roughly?
Do you know that, Nick?
It's about 300, around 300 feet.
So if someone's driving in and someone else is driving out, they have to find ways to get it, avoid each other, or there's no way there's 2 cars can go by in that driveway then, right?
Well, I mean, the car path that's there now, it's, like we said, it's about 15 feet. It might even be a little wider in spots. So, I mean, I think there would be enough room for cars to, pull off to the side and let the other one go.
There are some, it gets really tight through the grade and the width right here once you start getting into those wetland complexes. But you do have a straight sight distance. You may have some opportunity right here to put in a little pull-off. If you're concerned about 2 cars, I don't say colliding, you shouldn't be going that fast, but playing chicken. There would be a spot right there that we could.
Just with all the wetlands there, my assumption is that it's not gonna be exactly the most driest area on the side of the road, that there could be some.
No, if you were to walk out there, that road bed, it's an old road bed, and it's fairly well elevated above the surrounding wetlands. So I'm not concerned about, and that, like I said, that culvert had been replaced. Presumably when they sized that to be able to manage flows coming through, off the hill through this site. So I would, we weren't the design engineer of the project, but assuming you've got ample flow through here and it is elevated with ample cover over it. So I don't think there's a problem of water coming onto those lots or anything like that. I think it's more of the width gets restricted because the culvert is in place. I don't.
Provide a picture, maybe?
Pardon?
Provide a picture that shows 2 cars going down there, and what it would look like.
I'm just thinking that
See,
one
that's
car is gonna have to pull off a little bit, or both cars will
Yeah.
pull off with at least one wheel or so off the
Yeah.
road a little bit. But
Yeah, and
if it's elevated, then, I mean, it shouldn't be constantly wet, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Right. So what I'm suggesting here is maybe to put a little pull-off right there, so that if number 2 is coming by and number 4 is coming in, someone has an opportunity to back into a space or pull off into a space.
Are you gonna put curbing around it, or is it just gonna be to a soft shoulder?
It'll just be a soft shoulder.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just let the board know that I am a resident of Pierpont Estates.
be voting on the best interest of the town. On that common driveway, where is I know there's a manhole that's in there. I think it's maybe a clean out or something. Can you show me on that map roughly where that is relative to that driveway?
Oh, no, can I see that? Is it just past the second lot, Nick? There's probably a few of them in there.
Yeah, because I remember seeing that pipe, because I've been down there a lot. I remember seeing the pipe that goes across. To me, the biggest thing would be just making sure that, like the rest of the board was saying about maybe the two cars be able to get by, but it is very soft over there when you walk through there. I mean, your feet kind of start sinking mud. Granted, it's a wet time of the year.
Right.
But I just want to make sure that the drainage is adequate so it flows into that pipe properly.
So earlier you said that the distance from Noble Street to the first house was around 300 feet. What's it to the second house? Is it another 100 feet or 50 feet, or what are we talking about?
It's about 100 feet. I mean, I could get an exact distance.
Well, they've got a turnaround there now, like a little T. But I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, you can see on 3 to 400 feet, you can see a car coming, so you wouldn't necessarily turn down there if you saw a car coming.
Right.
But if it's longer than that, or there's any hills or anything, there could be a car. Would you see a car if it was coming down
Oh, yeah.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like right to the
It's a
road.
bit flat, isn't it?
Yeah, and then at the edge of the road, it goes up.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see clear as day either way.
Okay. And what are we talking?
It's about 70 feet between both houses.
Okay, so like less than 400 feet total. Okay. Because I live on a 600-foot cul-de-sac, and you can see the end of cul-de-sac as soon as you pull in.
Yeah. Are you gonna put any lighting on it?
No, there's no plans to put any lighting on the road.
One of the things that we talked about at one of the previous meetings, and we had this situation before, and you may want to talk with the assessor and with maybe like the fire chief and the police chief, but the issues that we have, like you said, putting a mailbox at the end of the street and calling it like 2 and 4 Noble Street. The issue we have is with emergency services, when they come, they'll drive right by that driveway and not even know that there's houses down there. So what we've done in the past to try to alleviate this is actually, because the driveway would be private, but you could name the driveway as a street, have a street name, so then those houses could have a number on that street, and the street would be on the map. Just so that emergency services and, as far as assessors go down the road, they know where this location is. It's not like it's 2 and 4 Noble Street, and they drive by and the first house they come to is 6, and now they're in a panic.
So one thing that may be applicable to that is, that is a named road historically as Old Mason Road. But we'd have to check with the police and fire and make sure that they're not gonna be, because I know there's a Mason Road in town.
Right, and there's a
Yeah, we
Mason
don't-
Road extension, but we don't have an Old Mason Road, so,
Yeah, make sure there's not confusion in that particular case.
right. But I think, honestly, my opinion would be, I think that would be a better situation for the prospective homeowners in the future if they had an address versus a number on a street.
Okay.
And because this is gonna be continuously kept private, the name, whatever name, it wouldn't have to come off of a street name list like the other streets in the subdivision. You probably picked them off the street name list, right, Tony, when you did the subdivision?
Well, you already, I think you already have the name, Old Mason Road.
Right, but I'm just saying, the other ones that you did, like Queens Circle and Noble Street, you got those off of a street name list, I believe, when you did the original subdivision. So, but that was because those roads would at one time become public roads, and this wouldn't necessarily ever become a public road, it would stay private because it's,
It'll stay private forever.
right.
Makes sense.
Yep. Okay. But that's something I would highly recommend, talk with the assessor, talk with the police chief, talk with the fire
Okay.
chief. Because I think that they would all find it easier to locate this versus having it like 2 and 4 Noble Street. Because we had also in town, we've had situations where we have 2 streets with the same name or very close to the same name. I mean, this wouldn't be so bad where one's Mason Road, or Mason Road Extension, and this is Old Mason Road. But I mean, we did have two McQuaid Streets at one time, and they were on opposite ends of the towns, and that wasn't good.
That's not good.
Right.
So
So,
with Main Street, I mean, Mill Street and Mill Road
right.
this day.
Russell Road, Russell Hill too.
Is there a street light at the T intersection off of Noble? To the right of the plan?
Here,
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Streetlights?
Street light, is there a street light up
There's
the,
gonna be a street light at the corner of, Place Circle and Noble.
So across the street, basically?
yeah.
Make on the same side of the road as the.
Well,
driveway that
I
that's
just think
one.
as long as it's on that one, yeah.
Yeah.
If we could get it on that corner, it'd be perfect.
You're probably right here, Tony.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, there's a street light right here.
Well, would you be able to just do it maybe across the street so it kind of shines on
Well, it's already installed, you said, right?
driveway?
Right.
That's already installed?
okay.
And
Right, the conduit is over there ready for the post.
And I do believe that there is, if I remember right, I think we put a condition on your subdivision, Tony, and this is going back a long time, but I believe that there's a condition that you put a lamp post on every lot.
Yeah, I did.
All right,
Um,
so you would continue with that with 2 lamp posts on these 2 lots.
Right, I can probably do a light over here or on each house.
It's a lamp post.
Yeah, light
And the
post.
others, yeah.
We have a light, a street light right over here, but you're right, I mean, every house has a street light.
A pole light
Right.
at the end of the driveway, because we thought that would help you illuminate the subdivision.
Right. So I can do it whatever, either over here, or over here. Or maybe do both.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you did, you know, you gotta do at least one light for each lot, but if you did 2, and each lot paid for 2 lights, I don't think it would be a big deal, and then as they're coming down their driveway at night, it would be lit up a little bit for them. That's not a big deal.
Right, there's an upgrade maybe, one of the lots.
Yeah, I mean, each lot would have, you know, they have to run the wire for one of the lights to the other lot.
They do a solar over there, like a corner.
They're just, the solar lights just aren't very bright yet. I mean, I think in future they'll get better, but the ones I've seen so far, they're kind of like a candle.
You'd be surprised at how bright some of those solar lights can get now, the newer ones.
But-
My only concern is, I don't know exactly how wide, but I'd check with the fire department to make sure that whatever length, because that's a long stretch of road, that the fire department can get down there without a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and see, like, if that, I don't know what the technical term is for that turnaround at the end, if it's a hammerhead turnaround or what you want to call it, but ask them if that's going to be acceptable if they have to drive a fire engine down there, and because I know they frown on backing up 400 feet.
Okay.
You know, so if they agree that they can get down there and turn around an engine and come out of there, that would be a good thing to know. Because I don't think you're gonna have enough room to put a cul-de-sac in there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But that's something that would definitely, you'd wanna find out in advance with, emergency services.
Okay.
So, street naming, street numbering, and accessibility.
Okay.
And then it's a private way perpetually. Does
Yeah.
that mean that Tony retains ownership, or would that be the 2 lots would eventually
They would,
take ownership over that?
the 2 lots would own it. And be responsible for maintaining it. So, snow plowing, if 5 years from now or 10 years from now, the pavement cracks, they gotta replace the pavement, they split the cost.
Anything else?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all I can think of.
All right.
You want to think about certain width?
I'd rather leave it in the hands of the fire department, because I think you've already just said you have, what, 12 feet is what you're looking
What's
at?
shown today is 12 feet.
I just checked with the fire department, but I'd be fine with whatever they say.
Show them that proposal. I mean, if they're okay with that. I mean, if you wanted to put the turn off like halfway down the 300-foot stretch, if you, on one side, if you wanted to put a little 8-foot wide by 20-foot turn off, so that if there was a car coming, somebody could pull off, that definitely wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
But I mean, with just 2 houses, I can't imagine there's gonna be that much traffic on that
Unless they
driveway.
hate each other.
Yeah.
Just throw a
That'd
party.
make interesting.
Until they get kids who have teenagers, who each have a car, 4 cars per house.
I watch this video 2 years from now being like, planning board.
All right, very good. We'll work on updating that for you folks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time I see we costing you money.
I know.
Don,
you.
can I see you tomorrow? You want some money too, right?
What?
That was
talked to
the
you
cover,
yesterday,
cover the setting of the, oh, for the application, formal application, I don't think you're ready for that yet.
Yeah. Are you gonna be in tomorrow?
I'm not sure, I'm gonna be tomorrow. I don't know if are you ready for that, though?
Yeah.
The full application?
Yeah.
This plan? The full definitive plan application?
Yeah.
The butters list and everything?
Oh, there we get it. We have to get it. They're about
But I don't
to.
know.
Yep. Okay. I gotta ask Don the next question.
Well, I'll see if you, give me a call if you come in tomorrow, otherwise I'll see you, Monday.
I'll call you.
Yeah, call me, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
That's all.
We didn't have anything come in on the solar farm, right?
Believe it or not, we did.
We did. Okay.
It's in your packet.
Under D.
Do D?
Your deed.
Nothing on Rocky Hill, Piasta Country, or Tobin before we get there?
No, they said something about finishing that May 2nd. Is it April 2nd or something? George and
Mr. Heaney?
Mr. Heaney were talking about finishing it in April.
Okay.
Was it April 2nd or 22nd or something like that?
All right, I mean, it's before, as long as it's before the town meeting, if they get it done, they get it done. If they don't, then they're
Yeah.
waiting till next year.
Yeah.
So,
It's
okay.
like we anticipated coming, I know that.
Like to get a site walk, with other town representatives for a final punch list once the snow is melted. Lawrence Cook will be the person on AMP side to coordinate specifics on this
Just
site.
came in late this afternoon.
Okay, so you're gonna get back to this gentleman and get it set up, so,
I'm gonna try to set up something for Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday next week.
so do we still have money in the escrow?
$1,000,
So we have enough money for Graves Engineering to come out and do the inspection?
just to begin, yeah.
Okay, that's good, because we need to have that, we need to have a letter from Jeff, and then we need to have Nelson look at it too, right? Okay,
We'll know what they're together.
Okay.
What's that?
Want one of us there for the walkthrough?
If you want, you're welcome to, you can have more than 2 of them.
All right.
You're fine, I think you can have more than 2.
If you wanna go see it, feel free.
It would probably be in the early afternoon, I think.
Yeah, get out of work at 2, so
2? Okay, I don't know if it might be earlier than that, we'll see.
I can get out. I'm flexible.
Okay,
Nelson does at noontime, he used to do it about 12:30.
so the next item on our agenda, item E, potential zoning bylaw amendments for the May 2019 town meeting, including housekeeping article to amend the zoning map for properties along Marshall Terrace, definition of kennels, in-law accessory apartments.
We settled the article in, what do we call it, what's the name of the street? Marshall Terrace? We settled that a long time ago, so we'll set with that one. Reviewed the housekeeping article so many times with town council. We got it down right. She's happy with it, I'm happy with it.
Okay,
Is that draft 4?
We have 4, that's right.
I noticed on draft 2B,
That's something else, that's the in-law.
all right, that has a typo in it, but
I'll tell you about that when we get to it in a second.
We'll go backwards.
Okay.
You wanna take the first one first? Do we have to do anything?
I don't think we need to go all through this, right?
No, do we have to vote this?
No, this is, we're gonna have to hold a public hearing on
Oh,
this.
okay.
We're not
The whole
there
public
yet.
hearing, we're shooting for the 24th.
So this is just, you're just giving us the final draft so we can review it before we have to
That's
go to the public hearing.
Okay.
So,
I wasn't sure if we had to vote it to get it to the public hearing.
no. And the next item was this is the information from the kennel that the woman was here at the last meeting. This is all the information that she provided to us. This was the state law, Mass, and this was the lawsuit that was brought in the town of Sturbridge, I believe it was. Yeah, town of Sturbridge.
We don't have any action on this right now, do we?
We don't have to,
We met last time. I was going to speak with the animal control officer, with the building inspector, and with the town clerk, Laura. She has done a lot of work in this, with the dog kennel regulations in the past. I'd say that the animal control officer is satisfied with what we have right now. And Laura's feeling was that we're jumping into something that we're not really totally familiar with yet.
okay.
I don't know where you want to leave that. I think it could be as simple as a definition or two. Maybe a change in use table, I'm not sure, but we can look at those things.
Do we get any council input? Or do we need any council input?
Ultimately, sure. But we haven't got to that point yet, because we're still trying to determine if we're going to do it.
If the definitions are already in the Mass General Law, then it's,
But they're missing in the town bylaw.
right.
There's 3 classifications, from what I
No,
understood,
I
there
was
was
here
3
and I read
classifications.
everything, I just say that if we,
Yeah.
if it's already in the Mass General Law, then I don't really understand or follow how we're stepping into something that we're not ready for, if it's already part of the Commonwealth's,
Just adopt there.
you know, nomenclature,
Usually adopt the
verbiage, or
Two
definitions.
definitions out of it. Modify the definition we have if we need to, and adopt the 2 from the state law, commercial and residential.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Talking about setting an upper limit on animals per acre.
So could you take a look at what the state has and see what type of change we would be looking at for our existing bylaw, or if we wanted to propose this, and,
Well, actually, I think I can tell you right now, it's,
okay. Because I see that you did copy some of our current bylaw in here.
yeah. She says she should be, was here last time. She says that she would be defined as a personal kennel, which the state defines as, it's right there, personal kennel. There's a commercial breeder kennel too. She says she isn't, she's not at that level, she doesn't do the wholesaling that they do.
So this article that you put in here, Article 27, Animal Control Bylaw. So we have the commercial,
It's town by law.
right, so we have a commercial kennel bylaw and a residential kennel bylaw. So this is not in the zoning, this is in our town bylaws.
Town bylaws, that's right. Yes.
Where did you find that at?
Let's see, halfway through.
All right, thanks.
But, correct me if I'm wrong, Don, but I thought that the planning board was only responsible for zoning bylaws, not for the town bylaws.
No, we're not responsible for the town
We
bylaws.
would just be sponsoring this.
I'm just showing you
Getting it part of the town, wouldn't we? That's how I understood it.
We're showing that for the sake of information, so you can see how these relate, that's all. We're not responsible for the town bylaw per se.
And so I thought it was in a zoning, I thought the kennels were in a zoning bylaw. They are also. but they're not in the town bylaws.
No, this is the animal control
I
bylaw.
think it's more like the zoning bylaws, the use is
Okay.
allowed, and the use of the land that's allowed, and the bylaw's more like a process.
Okay. So you didn't make copies of the zoning bylaws that we currently have?
Have it, sure. Can we get it out? I think it's all there, though.
Is it matching what the town bylaws are? It's a commercial kennel and a residential kennel, and she's looking for a personal kennel? Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah.
She's basically asking us to add the Massachusetts general law, personal kennel definition to our bylaws.
So why don't you take a look at the zoning bylaw that we have now and see how you could just fit that one
I
additional?
think it's just a matter of changing the definitions. And
I don't think it's changing definitions, because we have two definitions that work, the residential and the commercial. I think we're looking to add a third, but does it fit in the other two?
the uses, though,
Pardon me?
I think they fit, they're more or less, those two definitions are more or less in line with the state definitions, but the problem is that I think the uses allowed or not allowed. No, is nowhere. Oh, wait a minute, where's that page?
I think I would just get the current zoning bylaws and mark up where we could put this third.
Yeah, may quickly interrupt. The residential kennel is basically small-scale, personal use, how I understand it. The commercial breeder kennel, which is our second definition, gets into selling to wholesalers, brokers, or pet shops.
Right.
The personal kennel is selling to other owners, so individuals. And that's what she's looking for, is that third definition that clearly defines what her business is. Follow in suit with the Mass General laws.
Right. So I think we just gotta fit it into what we currently have, or at the least add the third choice.
Because my understanding is there's no conflict, it's just simply a clarification that brings us in line with the Mass General laws. But I think we should definitely hear from council on this, just to make sure that
Oh, sure.
always, my assumption is correct, always,
I mean, our own bylaws reference the chapter and general laws that are cited. When you go to commercial and residential kennels, it references Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, which is the one that has the actual definition she's looking for.
It was commercial animal kennel and hospital. And under residential, it was licensed residential animal kennel. That's permitted in all districts. So there's your two footnotes. 13 and 14.
I think the one thing we should look at and actually speak with town councils, I think the thing we had an issue with was the size of the lot.
Right, and putting some kind of limitation, like
Per-
number of dogs per
per
acre.
acre.
Yeah, yeah, I think you had mentioned like 10 dogs per acre. I mean, I don't know if that's the right number, but at least we have to look at something, I think. I mean, within reason.
That way, someone not in Res 10 has got 150 dogs.
Right,
I mean, I have a little over an acre, and I have 2 dogs, and it seems like barely enough for them, you know?
right.
It also depends on what type of dog.
Yes, that's very true. And do we get into that sizes, right? So when we're talking about it.
Right.
Over 30 pounds, over 80 pounds.
Both weight.
Total, you can't have more than 500 pounds of dog per acre.
All right, so I think we gotta look at that a little bit closer, Don, and at least start a little bit of work, so we can just start a draft. You know, like you've done on these other ones, you've had draft, we're up to 4 on the housekeeping one, we're up to draft 4, and the other one, we're up to 2A. I think we need draft 1 of the the dog kennel bylaw, so we can just have a look at it, and then,
Right. I think what I'll do, I'll draft this as soon as I can, get you as soon as I can. I think what I'll do is, read a definition for, this is missing, residential kennel?
Yes, you like residential, personal kennel.
Personal kennel. Yeah.
Personal residential kennel.
Yeah.
Personal kennel.
Yeah, just draft something up, and we'll take a look at it at the next meeting, or you can send it out.
Add the use table? Add to the use table, right?
Or if it needs to be added as into the definitions, I mean, use your best judgment where you think it needs to be and what needs to be added. And send it out to us, we'll take a look at it, and then we can send it out to town council and have them get their opinion on it.
Okay. Yeah, as soon as I can.
Okay, yeah.
Think we have to add a use to the table? I think we probably do. It doesn't really fit either one of those categories. That's on, current draft is page 11, I believe. I think page 7. This is the mention of the, that's just wrong. I get to punch the holes in this yet. Gender activity use, residential, it's listed as licensed residential animal kennel. Commercial is listed as animal kennel or hospital.
And what was the footnote 13 and 14?
Well, she needs something about getting a license from the town clerk first, I think. I don't remember exactly. Take it out of the-
Limitations of residential animal kennels must be applied for in a manner consistent with the protections according to agricultural under General Law, Chapter 48, subsection 3. That's number 13. Is it on 13 and 14?
Take out the clipboard if you want, I just put that paper, so you can punch a hole in it yet, just printed it today.
13 and 14. So 14 is subject to written approval and annual inspections by the building inspector and the animal control officer. So, I mean, I think both of those could still apply, it's just
Yeah, sure.
adding it in.
They should.
Okay. Yeah, I think we just need to start a draft on it, and then we'll be able to figure out where we are. The next one we got to talk about is the, all right, so this is, what are you calling it? Accessory use or in-law accessory apartments?
2B was the one I was working with yesterday afternoon. I spoke to town council briefly, I said, don't go through the whole thing, word by word, we just probably likely to change it. And the things that she found questionable, shaded, and the things that she said really shouldn't be there, crossed off. But then I was speaking to the building inspector this afternoon, he's acting with something much simpler than that. His concern is mostly discerning this two-family home from the in-law apartment. So you can see it's called draft 3. That's what he's happy with.
So he's just looking for what's on draft 3. And basically, it looks like we're going to add it to the use table under apartment, so it would be permitted in every zone. We'd have 2 footnotes, which would be 1 and 17. 1 is a current footnote. It looks like conversion of an existing single-family to a 2-family dwelling or accessory use apartment is allowed, provided if no street front visible evidence of multiple occupancy is apparent and at least 750 square feet of inhabitable floor space is provided for the second dwelling. Add a new footnote number 17 as follows. Number 17, follow only allowed only for the pre-existing, non-conforming, single-family dwellings in these districts. New single-family dwellings are prohibited use in the industrial 43, industrial 130, light industrial 43, and light industrial 87 districts.
For example, you have Leonard Street. Those houses are grandfathered, but we don't necessarily want to stop them from being able to put an in-law apartment in those houses. They exist. Couldn't put it into a new house, it's part of the construction of a new house, in other words, that's all that means. In those districts, obviously, so you can't build them anyway.
What was the origin of the area limitation, or the minimum area of 750 square feet?
That was there anyway, I don't know where that one came from.
It seems like a lot.
I was thinking, if you have a house that's got 1,200 square feet, or 1,400 or whatever, I mean, 750 is a big chunk, it's 50%, it's,
Yeah.
do they even fit on?
I mean, if you're looking at
residential
if you're looking at a one-bedroom apartment, and it's one bedroom and a living room and a kitchen and a bathroom, I mean, you'd be like 100, 150. I would think you could probably do it in 400 square feet.
That probably was 400 square feet was plenty, one person. I think that footnote number 1 seems a little gray. I mean, it's
Yeah, that was,
No
that was
visible.
there, so I didn't
street
Right.
front
put that
visible.
one in, but we can change it.
Yeah, it's,
We can change the,
I feel like anyone can go by and be like, oh, it looks visible, and then, hey, who's the judge of that?
750 to 400,
400
450.
square feet's 20 by 20. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good size,
Should be home.
one-bedroom apartment, yeah.
Yeah, 750 is a pretty good size.
Be a number that Nelson can weigh in better on.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with what you got here. I just didn't even know that that was there at 750 square feet. It seems like a lot.
It's always been there, so.
Okay. I don't know where they got that from. I don't know if it's
It's
I
one
mean,
of
if
those things you just drafted from another bylaw, probably.
if it's in state law, then we're kind of stuck with it.
No,
but
it's not in the state law.
It's not a state law? Okay. Yeah, I would-
Say
I would just-
450,
I would just question, I would say 400, I would think would be fine.
400.
Yeah. And I just, maybe I'm not getting number 17. Can you say what's the footnote 17 is going to do for us? Because I'm not,
Well, you can't build a new house, you incorporate this into a newly built house, this apartment. I guess if you incorporate it into a newly built house, you can't do that in those industrial districts because they're not allowed to be built. New houses aren't allowed to be built, you have to.
oh, so this is just,
Yeah, existing.
Industrial and light industry.
so this is just basically reiterating that there's no residential construction in our industrial or light industrial.
No new residential construction anyway. If you were to incorporate it into an existing house, that'd be one thing, but you can't build new anyway.
Okay.
So we don't, necessarily want to deny those people who just happen to live in an area where the zoning has been changed over the years to
Right.
in a position where they can't put an in-law apartment on just because they live a certain place.
So they would still be able to do it, but this is basically just stating that you can't, we
Over again.
already know that you can't build a residential and industrial or light industrial, so.
You can leave it off, but I don't see, I don't care.
The only thing that,
I like it.
yeah, I mean, it's good. The only thing I think you have to do is you need to put this footnote needs to be tied back to the use table for residential. Is that gonna, is that, so this,
It's just an excerpt from the accessory use table.
okay, all right.
It's not, these apartments aren't listed in the primary use table.
So this isn't gonna be a standalone table. It's part of the table that we already
Part
have.
of, this is not standalone table, it's part of the accessory.
Okay. All right. Because I'm sure if it's part of the table, then when you look at the overall table, when you look at single-family or two-family homes, you'll see that they're not permitted in industrial 43, 130, light industrial 43, and light industrial 87, because that's not a permitted use, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, and then
Change 750 to 400 then.
yeah, that's the only thing I would think about. So the second part, add amendment. Accessory use apartment, so these are just definitions. A living area within a residential structure that typically has its own kitchen and bathroom facilities that are not shared with the principal residence, but does have an entryway from one unit directly to the other unit. In a two-family home, a residential structure with 2 separate dwelling units, each with its own kitchen and bathroom facilities, and with each having its own 2 separate entrances and exits with no interconnection of the two. Okay. So that's just a definition of defining the accessory use apartment and a 2-family home.
To back up for a second,
Sure.
shouldn't these be not permitted with those footnotes?
No, because it's permitted if you have an existing house that's grandfathered. That's what this footnote is telling you.
Right, so.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think he's right, Don. On the industrial areas, we should say it's not permitted, but the footnote will say it's allowed for the ones that are existing.
Okay, we can do that, sure, put an N over there.
Yep. Yeah, good catch.
Thank
Yeah, we can do that.
Also, when it says,
Since you get so close to something, you don't see it the first time.
no visible evidence, does that mean there's just not 2 front doors in front of the house?
Correct.
Not necessarily, I mean, my house has 2 front doors, but
That's
It
my
depends-
thing, what's
it
the
depends how
definition
they're-
of that?
I mean, you think about a typical duplex, you
Well,
have
that's what
a
I'm
front
saying.
door next to a front door, but what's happened in the past in Dudley that I know where there's a 2-unit condominium on Tanyard Road, and they built it, and what they did was they built a little front porch with enclosed, with like a vestibule with a single door. So you walk into the vestibule, and then there's 2 doors inside the vestibule to go to either side. I mean, that's a way around it.
the idea is not to be more like townhouses or row houses.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out exactly what that means, because I could be like, well, no, it looks like it's visible for the 2 people there, and I
It's an
don't.
existing part of the bylaw.
Oh.
I mean, we've also had situations where the people have a front door on the front of the house, but then they'll put a bump out on the front of the house and have a door on the side. When you're driving by, you don't see the door on the side, but you only see the one in the front.
What's the idea that you don't want to have 2 that look exactly the same, like row houses? One distinction, it's a single-family home. I mean, sometimes you have a door, and like my house, I have a door in the breezeway. You convert the breezeway into the rest of the kitchen, you just bolted it in, took the wall out, and made it 1 room. But still has 2 entrances.
Right.
You only use the one in the kitchen, we don't use the one in the front door, hardly ever.
Yeah, my parents' house is the same way. They go in and out of the house all the time through the breezeway. The front doors, somebody's selling cookies, they go there.
No doubt it's a single-family house, though.
Right.
And I suppose we could have had an entryway in through the garage or something, and built another addition up the back, but nobody ever know it.
I mean, that's always,
No, it's fine.
that's been there in Dudley bylaw. Don't ask me how it
The
started.
whole idea is this doesn't look like it's a row house.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only thing I could think of too when I saw it there, because that's been there.
Townhouse, that's the word I was looking for, too.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about draft 2B?
No, so the building inspector's fine with just the draft 3. It's simpler.
Okay,
I think the less we change, the better off we are.
that's fine.
Well, that's like I said, it's always easy to delete than it is to add later.
Yeah.
Moving on to
Just something that's harder to add than just delete it up front.
on to F.
It's a little overkill, really good sometimes.
So we have no public hearing tonight. We'll get down to unfinished old business, not a public hearing. We have F, discussion on the status of the economic development planning, including integration of 2015 Village District Study with the results of the Village District Walk. That was A. B, we have Phase 2 Economic Development Strategic Plan and potential priority development / Village District areas, and progress on the agricultural planning. And then we have C, receipt of Energy and Environmental Affairs Planning Assistance Grant with the Town of Webster for economic development / commercial corridor planning, relationship to Phase 2 Economic Development Strategic Plan, DLTA funding.
Well, there was a meeting with the folks from CMRPC and from Webster on Tuesday afternoon.
Okay.
That phase of the project is getting going. As far as the agricultural, I understand they didn't have a quorum at the meeting the other night, but they had a good discussion anyway. If anybody wants to see the notes, I'd love to forward them to you.
Okay.
The notes of the minutes. If anybody wants them, just let me know. I don't want to give you everything, but part of your inbox too much, but if you like them, you're welcome to them. John sent them to me. And another grant we're going to be applying for too, which is called the MVP grant.
Most valuable player?
Most valuable player. Not most valuable plant either.
Okay.
Most valuable planner, Don?
Well, presumably it's to take care of climate change, but actually it goes a little way beyond that, because we can also include the planning we need to get the funding to do certain things, the problem areas like dams that are not in very good shape and
Okay.
things of that type. You know, something that causes flooding. I don't know if you guys, actually, that's something that causes tornadoes, directly anyway. So, three acronyms.
And you're working on the paperwork for this grant, or you've already completed the paperwork for this grant, Don?
The one we were just mentioning, the MVP grant?
Yeah.
Municipal vulnerability, that's what it is. Preparedness program. It's somewhat based on the FEMA plan that we did, the hazard mitigation plan,
Okay.
working on last year. So it's somewhat based on that, and fulfilling some of the obligations in that plan. Things we had about, you know, areas that don't drain well, and things of that type. Anything that's affected by changes, environmental changes. It covers a lot too. It probably cover even like water systems and sorts of things.
So for this particular grant, where are you in the process? Have you started it? Are you
Just met last week,
just met last week?
actually Monday,
Will you be getting assistance in applying for this through Central Mass Regional Planning?
yes.
Okay, that's good. We're getting something else for our money that we give them every year.
You're doing pretty well with that.
Well, that's good.
Good folks.
Okay.
Here's a sample of our application from the West Boylston, if you were to look at it. Just look through it.
Could you send this out to all the boards just so they can have a look at it? And everybody will get a,
Scan it,
Cheers.
send it out, sure.
yeah, that would be good. So West Boylston's already applied for this?
I believe they have that,
Okay.
this application, but I think it might have been awarded already, actually. That was their
Mhm.
application anyway.
Anything on the planner's plate other than that?
Well, that was part of the planner's plate too, but I guess, but, also been looking at that, remember, we were looking at the name to rename Causeway Road, and got some consistency on that. We have to work with that individual on that too, and we need a map of some kind, so maybe I can just use an assessor's map or something, but we'll see what we can do. We need a map of some kind to do that.
Can't you get it like off a GIS map?
Probably can't have that area, but I'll see what I can get.
Okay.
We'll work up something.
Now is Mr. Frank? Okay. Anything else?
It's a different process for running the hearing notice on that. It's, different time frame, but nevertheless, we can still have it on the 24th too.
I mean, one thing I don't want to do is get overloaded with all the warrant articles, so, I mean, if this is something that doesn't have to take place at town meeting, we could do it after town meeting, that might be better.
What your preference?
Yeah, I think it would be better, I mean,
Last time, we said, let's get everything done on that night, so.
if we're gonna have a full plate for town meeting, I don't want to have to throw something else on top of that.
Warrant closes the week after next. Know what day I had it down, I think it's,
Because when you talked about the renaming the street, didn't you say that didn't have to happen at town meeting?
no, not telling me, just this board, a hearing before this board.
Okay, so then
And
let's,
just as you ran a newspaper article once in 2 consecutive weeks, the second's running meeting only 2 days before the hearing, so.
I would say let's plan to have that happen after the town meeting, if it's not urgent.
You have the meeting in May too, if it's not, you know, so it's, meeting in May is May 8th, I think it is.
Because you gotta remember that June, when's the election? June first week in June, second week in June.
Usually the first or second Monday, isn't it?
Yeah, so you could end up having
A new board.
3 or 4 new people in June, so we probably,
Educate them real quick.
yeah. I'm just thinking, don't start something that would be kind of in the middle of the board changing.
Try to do is get that intro to you, the thing with the PDF files and the town meeting, the town website stuff, and if you have any question about any of that stuff, just let me know, and I'll try to answer it as I can.
Yeah. And I think if we can get if we end up getting those 2 subdivision roads completed before town meeting, we're gonna have to have something written up for that. We're gonna have to put a placeholder on the warrant for those 2 subdivisions.
Yep.
And then we've got 4 other zoning articles here that we gotta deal with, so that could be a total of 6 items. So I think if they wanna rename this road, it'll have to be taken up with the new board, and let's just tell them that we can look at this in June or later. I mean, I've lived here for almost 20 years, and it's always been Causeway Shores, so, if it goes another couple months, I don't think it will hurt too many people. But I can understand why they want to have it changed if it's not accurate, because it's just something similar like we're talking about with this change of Pierpont Estates putting 2 houses down a side street that nobody will know is there if it doesn't have a name, so.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, it's tough to get the hearing notice ready if we're gonna have the hearing on the 24th, so I'm gonna set those 3 articles, and I'll get the other one to you as soon as I can. Maybe
Yeah, and like I said,
weekend,
talk to the
so first of next week.
Talk to the town administrator about getting placeholders for those 2 subdivision roads. If they don't get them done, we won't put them through, but if they're done and everything's all set and town engineer looks at it and says it's good to go, then we can vote on it at town meeting. Okay? All right. Anything else from the board?
I did attend the Central Mass Regional Planning Board annual meeting the other night.
Oh, you got a nice pen.
I got a nice pen and a tabletop pie, because it was on Pie Day.
Hey, they got their annual meeting in June.
Oh, I just went to the one up in Masonic Home, and it was on Pie Day, 3/14. They talked about the baby boomers and how there's not gonna be enough housing for them.
What the millennials?
There's actually, that's the thing they're gonna,
Driving it.
there's a big gap in the middle though.
Oh, that's where the tiny houses will come in. Okay. We're not going to have any comments from the audience, so motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Good night. Thank you.